there's a precedent sparking discussion, a precedent that, if confirmed in its full force, could change the way many faithful view the Latin Mass. Today, in a specific diocese, there is a risk that anyone who attends or celebrates the liturgy according to the Missal of St. Pius V could face public excommunication. This isn't just a theoretical hypothesis. It's written in an official statement. Stay tuned to see how it will impact the Church in the coming months. It's happening in Maceio, Brazil. On February 11th, the Archdiocese published a note addressed to the faithful residing within its territory. The text informs that those who wish to participate in the so-called Tridentine Masses, that is, the liturgy celebrated according to the Roman Missal promulgated in 1570 in Latin, can do so in only one place: the Chapel of St. Vincent de Paul, at the Santa Casa de Misericordia in Maceio. The celebration is held every Sunday and is led by a priest of the archdiocesan clergy. So far, a regulation. But the statement goes on to clarify that this permission was authorized by Archbishop Carlos Alberto Brea Pereira, a Franciscan, with the approval of the Holy See. And immediately after, he specifies that this liturgy is not authorized in any other place, religious or otherwise, nor within any civil association. It is in the next passage that the tone changes radically. The text explicitly recalls Canons 751 and 1364, paragraph 1 of the Code of Canon Law, and states that the celebration of the Mass in the old rite, in a place other than the one authorized, will be considered an act of public schism, resulting in automatic excommunication. The wording is clear. It doesn't just refer to disobedience. It doesn't refer generically to liturgical abuse. The category of public schism is used, and it evokes latae sententiae, that is, automatic excommunication. The statement is addressed to the faithful residing within the jurisdiction of the Archdiocese of Maceio. It is not a universal document, but rather a territorial disciplinary act. However, its content inevitably has a wider resonance, because it doesn't just concern priests who might celebrate the Latin Mass outside of an authorized venue. It also concerns anyone who participates, celebrate, or participate. This means that, according to what is written, a lay faithful who took part in a celebration of the ancient rite organized elsewhere could be involved in what is defined as an act of public schism. The reference to the canons is technical. Canon 751 defines schism as the refusal of submission to the Roman pontiff or of communion with members of the Church subject to him. Canon 1364, paragraph 1, establishes that the heretic, apostate, or schismatic incurs automatic excommunication. And this is where the most controversial point emerges. The statement makes no mention of the Pope's rejection. It doesn't mention denied doctrines. It doesn't mention a formal break with Rome. It speaks of a celebration in an unauthorized location. The rite celebrated in the indicated chapel is the exact same rite which, celebrated elsewhere, would be classified as an act of schism. The Missal remains unchanged. The language remains unchanged. The content of the professed faith remains unchanged. The Pope, named in the canon, remains unchanged. The location changes. The authorization changes. In one part of the city, the Mass, according to the 1570 Missal, is fully licit, approved, and regulated. In another place, the exact same liturgy could be considered schismatic. Is this a rigorous application of discipline? Is it a preventative measure to prevent the emergence of autonomous groups? Or are we facing a new threshold in contemporary liturgical conflict? To understand the story, it's important to remember the context. After the 2021 motu proprio restricting the use of the ancient rite, many dioceses around the world concentrated the celebration of the traditional Mass in specific locations. In Maceio, too, the liturgy, according to the Missal of St. Pius V, had already been channeled into a single location. What's new now isn't the geographical limitation. It's the explicit use of the category of schism and the threat of automatic excommunication. Dom Carlos Alberto Breis Pereira, Archbishop since 2020 and a member of the Order of Friars Minor, has repeatedly emphasized in his public speeches the importance of ecclesial unity and obedience to existing discipline. The statement insists that the only authorized celebration takes place with the approval of the Holy See. The reference to Rome seems intended to strengthen the legitimacy of the measure. Yet the paradox remains. If the rite is recognized and authorized in one place, how can it become in the same territory an act of schism in another place? The term schism in canon law implies a rupture in communion. Here, the rupture would be considered to coincide with the unauthorized celebration of a rite that, in its form, remains Catholic. In Brazil, in recent years, there has been a growth in groups linked to the traditional liturgy, often made up of young families. In some dioceses, tensions have arisen between requests for celebration, according to the ancient rite, and the rigorous application of the new norms. Maceio's case could be interpreted as an attempt to prevent autonomous celebrations. But the choice of language inevitably raises the level of conflict. Excommunication is not a standard measure. It is the most serious penalty provided for by canon law. Even when declared an automatic consequence, it carries enormous symbolic weight. Invoking it in relation to participation in a Latin Mass produces an effect that goes beyond the boundaries of the diocese. For some, it's a defense of ecclesial unity. For others, it's a sign of inflexibility that risks accentuating polarization. The statement doesn't announce any excommunications already imposed. It doesn't name names, it doesn't recount specific cases, but it does establish a clear line of demarcation. Is this a one-off precedent, or could it become a model for other dioceses? Is it an exceptional measure tied to local dynamics, or does it signal a new phase in the management of the traditional liturgy? Because sometimes precedents arise silently, and only later do we realize they've changed the bigger picture. What do you think? If you liked the video, comment Amen. God bless you.